June 10th at 10 on BBC America.
Well, the fifth and final season, sadly, of Orphan Black is upon us. And I know I get a little teary at the prospect of the show ending because I'm a day one fan, so I'm so excited for you guys to be here. How are you all doing? I'd love to hear from each of you.
Awful.
In mourning, yeah.
Nice shirt. Oh my God.
Actually, it's been...
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
I think we've all been downers a little in interviews lately because we're
This
just
morning
like,
was
we're
pretty-
so sad. Yeah.
God, as she started, one of the interviewers was starting to ask us about, you know, the last day of shooting. And then it was just funny because we came in kind of excited and then slowly, like, the pitch in our voices started dropping. And we were like, yeah, it was, you know, we kind of just sat and suddenly got very wistful and there were bloated pauses. We're okay.
We're grieving is what
Yeah.
we're doing. We're all in proper grieving mode because it was an incredible experience for all of us and we're proud of it and we care about it and we're going to miss it.
But we're really happy that we're all together right now
Yeah.
because we've kind of walked away from it for like a month or two now, and so just being together is so nice.
At the same time, though, I'm really excited to share it with everybody. I mean, it's the one thing about doing a 10-episode season is it's a really long time between each season.
Yeah.
So, and we know that the fans are really, really excited about seeing what's happened, and we feel like we put together a really fantastic swan song for you guys, and we're really excited to share it with you guys. So we have that anticipation. We hope you guys love it.
I'm also really proud of Graham and John that they stuck to their guns and finished. Like they always said, they had 5 years in it, and that's what they had and what they knew. But, you know, it's been successful, and especially with Tatiana's Emmy, and like they could have.
Can we hear for that?
But they kind of, it seems
Thanks
kind
for
of
saying that, Maria.
I know. Give me that money. It seems kind of honourable to me that they stuck to their guns and they didn't just go for another bit or some more money and just kind of beat it to death and dilute how we feel and how proud we are. But I think it's right that it ends. It's sad, but it's right.
Well, it's so nice to see you all together. This must be a little bit of a reunion. I heard you were all up late last night, despite multiple requests to get to bed early.
God,
Don't know what you're talking
who
about.
told you?
Who requested
No.
Except we weren't doing any, like, we were just eating.
Yeah, seriously, we
There
were.
was like
No
multiple ice
bacchanal
creams.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheesecake and ice cream.
Sounds fun. You know,
We're nuts.
We're
We're
crazy
wild.
cast over here, guys. You must feel a real sense of accomplishment. You know, this show was sort of the little clone show that could, and it turned into this critically acclaimed, Emmy-winning phenomenon. Was there ever a point in the early days where you were thinking, they're not going to get it, this isn't going to break through, but they're not going to pick up what we're putting down? Or did you always have faith that the show would find its audience and sort of become what it has?
I always felt like it was an amazing story, and I thought from the pilot I was so excited and intrigued by the prospect of what could be, and I never thought of it actually, and we've all talked about this, never thought of it actually being seen by anybody. You know, you do a lot of, yeah, exactly. And then so when we got a response from, specifically from Clone Club, like from this community that kind of rallied behind the show and became friends internationally and have met up and did cosplay and all of that stuff. I mean, you don't expect that. I don't think ever as an actor going into something, you're just sort of happy to have a job that you love, you know, and then to have that kind of reaction. I never predicted that.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's so many forces at play as well. Like, I mean, just having a good show and having good performances and having a great cast is not a determining factor in whether or not the show has a life beyond the first season. So there's so many things that are beyond our control. But the fact that once again that Clone Club did glom onto it as much as they did, and the fact that our producers believed in the show enough to greenlight us for a second, third, fourth, fifth season is something that went well beyond, I think, anybody's wildest dreams.
Do you guys also ever feel like the fact that we were shooting it in the winter in Canada made it feel like it was, I don't know, there was something
a bit of a dream?
desolate. Yeah, like we were. It was just
like
in a vacuum, and we were.
Yeah.
It was just never gonna come out.
Well, that
It
whole
was just like
first
some
season,
mad endurance test that we
Yeah.
were all just put through. Being
we just kept calling it our weird little show in the first season and it's always been our weird little show, but like just with more people watching it. But we knew there was something special there. Like we were working on it. We just didn't know how it was going to be received. But we're like, there's something here. This feels different than most sets.
And also just wondering the logistics, how in the world, directorially, technically, the logistics of the clone scenes were going to work. Yeah. I'd never even heard of a techno dolly. I have nightmares about them now. Once it just stopped working, I was like...
Once?
12 times it stopped working.
I mean, I'm still so amazed. I introduced the show to a friend who hadn't seen it before, and I was like, no, she plays every single part. Like, I had to keep on reminding him because it still, blows my mind. Is there a sense of relief that you feel at all with, like, no more hours in the makeup chair, no sort of accents to learn? Like, what are you doing with all your free time now?
I'm sleeping. I'm literally catching up on just years of lack of sleep. But also I, was so grateful for this job and will miss it all the time. I'll miss my co-stars, like the people who are my family and who this wouldn't be the show it is without them. The whole challenge of it, it's just never going to happen again. It's like a very special once in a lifetime thing. And as an actor, you don't get stuff like this ever, so I'm sad. Missing it for sure.
I feel like it goes beyond, like there's something really interesting about sharing yourself with as a character with a group of people, because we have these offset relationships and then we have these very tense, very deep relationships that exist on screen, and you carry all of that with you. Like over the course of 5 years, it does become like family. It does. It's not just. It's beyond. It's a different kind of friendship. It's just a different relationship entirely. It's very very intimate.
No, I mean that's very clear. Just sitting here with all of you, there's a real shared love, and that's so nice to see. Because I think you watching at home, you want that. It's happening here, in motion. When we last left you all, season 4 really left us in a different spot as opposed to previous seasons where the family's together, the clones are dancing, or we're at a dinner party. Now they're in different locations, sort of fractured. How does this set the tone for the final season?
Well, I think we get to see the clones and all of the characters sort of in deeper ways, whether that's an episode that kind of focuses on one of the worlds, like one of the clones' backstories or those kinds of things. There is kind of an individual sort of nature to some of the storytelling. But I think ultimately the story is about community and family and about the sisterhood and the brother sisterhood and all of that, So I think it kind of goes from this singular place to a more communal kind of family thing.
Please tell me we're getting a Crystal only, like flashback heavy, involved episode. That's all I want.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, you got it.
We got to get back
like
to work.
Baby Crystal. She came out like full nails.
And we left you on this island, giving me major Lost vibes and loving it. And I think it's sort of the perfect place to start this season because it's very primitive in a sense and really strips away everything else, just leave these characters, laid bare. But it's also the heart of this neo-lutionist agenda. What is it like filming in this location? Are we going to be here for a while? Are we going back to Canada? What's happening?
Did anybody else really film on the island? Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
No, not me.
No?
I'm not allowed to say. I signed a
yeah,
non-disclosure agreement.
The island was wild. The island was in a little valley out in, like, what? Yeah. I can't say much about the island, I don't think.
It was awful cold.
It was so cold.
I went to visit one night. I was just like, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm not
It was a
working
terrible
tonight.
set that was cold and muddy, and like our transport trucks would get stuck going up and down the hills and stuff, and it was yeah.
Sounds like a blast.
It's not even the question you asked,
Yeah.
but that's our memory of it. Is like it was a terrible place to shoot.
Yeah.
And we now are sort of seeing the entrance of this figure, P.T. Westmoreland, who is sort of the father of Neolutionism. Neolutionism, is that the word? Am I saying it rightly? Okay. How does his entrance into the mythos sort of change this season? How is he going to factor in without, I know, of course, giving too much away? Because we've sort of been building to this big reveal, sort of the father of all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the season was always set out to be kind of about patriarchy and the systems in which we are all oppressed by this, antiquated system that holds us all kind of captive and seeks to own us all, whether we're women or men. And then it topically just, ended up happening in life, in major ways in politics. And so I feel like we were really eager to reflect back what was happening and talk about it and get to work through it through the storytelling. So hopefully that translates. But I think PT is the sort of icon of that patriarchy.
So I know the show was shooting before the election, correct? Yeah. Did this have any effect, sort of? The show. Yep.
My microphone is at I'm ready.
Go, man, go.
I was like, yes.
Well, two things strike me. Of course, the show has always represented ideals that stand in direct defiance of things like this. But it's also sort of really embraced the scientific community, and right now, something like that is so under attack. Yeah. So I'm curious, in what ways do you see the show engaging with this political moment?
It's needed now more than ever, and I don't think we ever really expected that the world would shift that way from where we were 5 years ago when we started the show. I mean, things needed to be said back then, but even just it feels way more urgent now.
I feel like that's just always how it goes historically. I feel like we do that. We make this progress. It happened in the 1960s and the 1970s. There was this liberation, this revolution that was happening, and then everybody got scared and they walked it back. And I think that we're approaching a sea change in society, and it's the reason why shows like Orphan Black are even given a platform in the first place. And the response is just fear. And so I feel like even though we're seeing the bombshell of opposition to all of these ideas about science and about gender and sexuality and women's rights, and we're sort of seeing the effect of the opposition, and it feels very loud. To me, it just kind of feels like it's the dying breath of the fight. It's just the fearful response to it. And when the opposition is the loudest, when there's the most fanfare, and we feel like, the fight is the most tense, I think it's actually just because we're winning. And I think, I don't know, thematically, I just think that's kind of interesting, because it's exactly what's going on with the sisters in this entire season of the show. It's really hard. The last season it's very tense, and they're fighting harder than they've ever fought before. And
I think that one of the things about the show has been the idea of family, of an other kind of family, of a chosen family, of a way to find that. And that's one of the things we've seen as well. Like the Women's March was an extraordinary symbol of community and chosen family and chosen idea, and we will not be oppressed. And so although the bigger picture seems bleak and kind of right changes to the right seem to be happening in the world, it's also pointing out to all the people who are not in that position, we need to make our voices heard, and we need to come together, and we can choose which way we want to go. So I think that's an incredible thing to see, as well as the bad stuff. To see the coming together, good stuff is really powerful.
Absolutely.
Tatiana, in your Emmy acceptance speech, you praised the show for really putting women at the center. And I imagine all of you are very proud to be on a show that does that. So hoping maybe you could speak to that or how it directly relates to the storytelling in the final season.
Yeah, it's always been about womanhood and about just being a human, being a complex human being who is defined by more than your genetics or your aesthetic or your gender or anything. So we continue to tell that story, and And I think we do that through all the characters. And like you're saying, it's all about family and it's all about community and how individuals together are stronger together. You know, I don't know. God, there's so much to talk about in that. Yeah.
And also, just in a very simple way, I mean, there aren't that many shows that have so many really well-written, complex characters who are over 25 or well over 25. Do you know, there's all the fantastic actors we've had in, Kyra Harper, Rosemary Dunsmore, Nora McClellan, like they love women and they don't need them to conform to a certain age or shape or look. And it's a simple thing, but it's really encouraging. Like, you can't be what you can't see. It's just great to have that representation as a person who's a little bit over 25.
You know, and I think another legacy that the show is leaving behind is really embracing the LGBTQ community. And I've been so heartened to see these representations on screen, where often characters or actors are so pigeonholed or sort of sidelined. Yeah, what has it been like to be in a show that like actively engages with that fan base on and off screen? To really any of you?
I think it's great. I mean, I'm going to take it a little off track a little bit. I mean, you know, I come from a community where when you go to a Thanksgiving dinner, Tyler Perry movies are on perpetually, right? And it sounds a little funny, but it's about seeing images on screen that you understand and you relate to, and what that means to you as a community. The fact that you see people, even though it's a comedy or whatever, you see people struggling, fighting, loving, and succeeding and triumphing over whatever the adversity is. And that gives you a sense of pride, and it lets you walk a little taller. And I know that for myself. I mean, we're talking about back when Cool Runnings was on, like way back in the day. So for a show like ours to do that for the LGBTQ community, I understand what that is. You go through life and you have your struggles and you have your day-to-day strifes. But when you see someone on screen going through something similar or even not similar to yours, but fighting and persevering and loving and losing and still coming out as a winner or as a loser or whatever, but still continuing to keep their head high and march forward, it means the world to somebody. And the fact that we're able to do that 10 episodes a season means everything to me, and I think it means everything to the cast, and that's why we continue to try to do the best work that we can, because we have a responsibility as a society to do that.
I love that. Thank you.
One of the best things that ever happened to us was when we were in Comic-Con. And do you remember the girl came up like 2 years ago? And she came up and she said she was really grateful to the show because it had shown her a way to come out to her mom, that because she was able to show it through the character Cosima, who happens to be gay, but she's also this incredible scientist and has loves and it wasn't just, she was finding it difficult to come out because it was all about the fact that she was gay. And then she was able to say to her mom, oh, that's just one part of my personality. Look at this. It was just, it was really amazing, wasn't it, to hear that, or in a direct way. I like the fact that, yeah, people happen to be gay in our show, but it's like one bit of all the other complex things that they are and inherit and, you know, everything.
I think we basically get to show that it's the universality that's most interesting.
Yeah.
That it's the fact that ultimately, whether you're gay, bi, trans, black, white, whatever, that the human experience is the human experience is the human experience. Yeah. And these facets of us we can't be reduced by them. They inform how we see the world, yes, or parts of the world, but there's so many more aspects to who we are and just what our lives consist of. And I think that's what's really cool about these characters, like you were saying. It's just there's so much more there.
God, I'm going to miss this show, I'm telling you.